Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Well, today's Friday, June 27, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Huge day at the Supreme Court. Major decision regarding birthright citizenship and injunctions. We'll break it all down. It is absolutely crazy what the right wing is doing. Also, Donald Trump talks to two African leaders and pretty much just insults black people. Yeah, we're going to talk about that and show you exactly what happened there. We continue to see what ICE is doing, how they are mistreating people all across this country, and the right wing does not care because for them, Donald Trump is doing exactly what they all want to be done. And also, we lose one of our greatest, one of the co-founders of The Whispers has passed away. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Two major Supreme Court rulings reshaping the legal landscape on reproductive rights and immigration. And millions of Americans could feel the effects immediately. In a 6-3 decision, the court ruled that states can block Planned Parenthood from receiving Medicaid funds, and not just for abortion, but for essential services like birth control, cancer screenings, and STD testing. In a separate decision, the justices sided with Donald Trump, pushed to limit nationwide injunctions, clearing the way for the administration to move forward with a plan to end birthright citizenship. A lot was said today. We're going to play you what Trump and the AG Pam Bondi said. We want to go right to our guest on this because, again, folks, it is unbelievable. Damon Hewitt, the president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, joins us right now. Samuel Spito, the associate director and counsel from the Legal Defense Fund. Glad to have both of you. Damon, walk us through here. People need to understand here. First of all, the Supreme Court did not overturn the citizenship issue, but explain to people exactly what did they do?
Well, the court halfway punted, but also did some damage today, and the story of the damage will only be told in the coming months and years as other cases proceed. The Supreme Court did not actually decide whether birthright citizenship should be preserved, punted on that issue. The court also didn't dig deeply into the 14th Amendment in a substantive way, which many of us feared, because I think that's a big political project on the right to start undoing things like equal protection and what have you. But what the court did was it essentially did a process damage. It said, look, you can't actually do these nationwide injunctions. And that's a really big problem because, you know, it's essentially like telling folks, well, if you experience a harm, it's only individual to you. And a case that wins big for one person, they're saying it essentially doesn't matter for the next person who's in exactly the same circumstance under the exact same government policy. That is actually bonkers and is contrary to the interest of justice.
Samuel, the right had no problem with nationwide injunctions when Biden was president, especially related to student loans and other issues. In fact, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton loved going to a particular judge, right-wing judge in Texas, to get those nationwide injunctions.
Yeah, very, I would say ironic, but perhaps not ironic. I mean, as Damon said, this is a real blow, and it is telling that this is the case that the Supreme Court decided to put this blow on our legal system. And one of the things I really wanted to lift up is Justice Jackson wrote a separate dissent. Justice Sotomayor had written the principal dissent. And what Justice Jackson said is, make no mistake about it, the court is dressing this up as sort of a legalistic, legalese type issue. But really the effect of this decision is to say that the judiciary cannot make sure the executive follows the law. Because as Damon said, yes, a court can say, with respect to the parties before it, I'm going to rule in favor of certain parties. But the court can't then say, okay, well, you're somebody who didn't get to court. You don't have a lawyer. You don't have the resources to do that. We can't tell the executive branch to follow the law for you. And that is a tremendous, tremendous departure from basic principles of the rule of law and really quite dangerous for our democracy.
You also had a particular case, Damon, that dealt with religious rights where they are allowing parents to say, hey, I don't want my child listening to LGBTQ storybooks or things along those lines. What could be LGBTQ today literally could be Black History tomorrow.
Exactly. It's this so-called opt-out, this whole, we believe, manufactured parents' rights movement, Moms for Liberty, that type of stuff. What we're searching for, which is not readily apparent, is what is the limiting principle? Like you said, Roland, where does it stop? This is essentially taking private discrimination, at least potential private discrimination, and having the government or forcing schools to endorse it. It is actually going to likely either do one or two things. It will throw school districts and individual schools and classrooms into chaos, trying to navigate around people's private biases, or it's going to just water down curriculum, period. So it's going to be, test and drill and kill, just whatever's on the very basic curriculum. That's not good for anybody, including the students whose parents are forcing them to opt out.
Well, I mean, here's a perfect example. University of Alabama, Birmingham had a private scholarship, privately funded scholarship for Black medical students, and they stopped it because of threats from the Trump administration, their attacks on DEI. What we are seeing is they will apply this stuff to any number of things. And so if these parents, Samuel, are using this religious exemption or religious reason, they could slap that on anything.
Yeah, I think one of the through lines from the decisions that we have seen, and you mentioned at the beginning, the decision with respect to access for folks on Medicaid to be able to go to Planned Parenthood as part of this sort of defund Planned Parenthood movement, is a real sort of picking and choosing about who in our country is able to have the protections of the law, who is able to have legal rights enforced, and who is not. And the Supreme Court has issued these very, very series of troubling decisions about who is really protected by the rule of law in our country today.
That you spoke of that Planned Parenthood decision. I mean, listen, they do more than just provide abortion services. We're now talking about millions of people who don't have access to health services. You have the closing of, it's not like, for the longest, I think back to the 70s, early 80s, you had community centers that provided services. Those things have long shut down. And so, what next if these states, especially red states, will be targeting Planned Parenthood, Damon? Well,
look, again, the question is, what does this all stop? There's been some success when it comes to the so-called big, beautiful bill, what our Sam and our friends at the Legal Defense Fund call the big billionaire bonanza, and it really is that, or the Kneecap America bill, as some of us call it. We have to stop at the pass all these efforts to erode, undermine, eviscerate both civil rights and social safety net. I think, though, Roland, to going forward, what some of these moves are going to do, the Supreme Court decisions, other things happening on Capitol Hill, certainly what's happening in the White House, they are actually expanding our coalition. We know that Black communities are canaries in the coal mine. When we get when folks get a cold, Black America gets the flu. People understand that we are essentially been in a laboratory or being treated like we're in a laboratory when it comes to all these changes, all these erosions of rights. But more and more Americans are starting to feel it. Women are feeling it with the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade. This Planned Parenthood piece is going to hurt people not just on reproductive rights, but just basic health care. And if rural hospitals start to close, including in Appalachia, including in majority white counties in some of these states, more and more people are going to start to feel the pain, but they're starting to wake up. And so it's going to expand the coalition of people who are willing to fight back, push back through political voice at the ballot box and beyond.
Samuel, look, we keep telling people elections have consequences. Republicans, hard right, they've got a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. And one of the things we see is how these folks, they're attacking Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, calling her a DE hire, all sort of stuff along those lines. They don't want any pushback. And what people have to understand is that this is a court that clearly says, we're going to let Donald Trump do a hell of a lot what he wants to do. People have to recognize that you're moving closer and closer to the executive branch snatching tons of power from judicial, from legislative, and being as close as we've ever had to having a king.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what Justice Jackson said and really so powerfully explained in her dissenting opinion in the birthright citizenship case today. And I think one other thing that is really important to sort of pick up on one of the points that Damon was making is to remember what the history here of the birthright citizenship clause is. It was understood from time immemorial in England and the United States that anyone who was born in the country was a citizen. And then in the most notorious Supreme Court decision of ever, the Dred Scott decision, the Supreme Court held that that did not apply to enslaved Black Americans. And so the birthright citizenship clause in the 14th Amendment corrected that horrific decision and held that and made clear that everyone born in the United States is a citizen. So it is that magnitude of a constitutional right that today the Supreme Court has held there are real limitations on the ability of district courts to enforce. Yeah, go ahead, sorry, Damon.
Well, I just want to add, like, in the crux of the decision, the money phrase, of course, as we all know, is that there are no right. Negro has no rights which white man is bound to respect. So when we see these attacks, as you're talking about, Sam, on key core bedrock constitutional provisions, you got to wonder, are they reviving that mythology, that notion that there are no rights, that we have no rights, which are bound to be respected? So it is a dangerous, dangerous path, but these folks on the other side know exactly what they're doing. But we do too.
All right, then. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Keep up the legal battles. Thanks a lot.
Of course.
Thank you.
Folks, going to go to a break. We come back. We'll check with our panel about this here. We'll talk with them about a whole lot of other stuff. It is a wild, wild day. And when I show y'all some of the crazy crap that was said in the Oval Office, as two African leaders stood next to Trump, y'all ain't gonna believe the mess. Just wait till I play it. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
We don't stand up for Medicaid now. In spite of my honorable military service, the Senate will kill my child.
I want the people that are trying to take this away from us to put yourself in our seats.
Congress people, you got free health care paid for by the people, and then you don't want the people to have the same thing you have. That is sick, and we must challenge it.
This bill will deny millions of people the health care that they need. This is policy violence.
And we won't be silent anymore.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, let's welcome our panel to the show. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney, joining us out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, joining us out of Detroit. I'll actually be in Detroit this Sunday for the NAACP Freedom Fund dinner, so picking up an award there. Also, Eugene Craig, CEO, X Factor Media, out of Baltimore. Matt, I'll start with you. Look, this is a right-wing court. They are lovers of religious liberty. They will side with these right-wing folks as much as they can. That's pretty much what that LGBTQ religious rights decision is. But when you look at this whole issue, the right absolutely wants to get rid of birthright citizenship. And in fact, listen to the crap Trump said from the White House podium today.
The Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. Thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
All right, Matt, thoughts?
So I'm going to address the religious liberty thing first and say I'm actually going to take the opposite tack. You know, I don't know how we can live in a country where we talk about not having an establishment clause or not having, having the free exercise of religion and then say that people cannot opt out. I think it becomes a bigger issue if the Supreme Court in subsequent cases says that a public school is now required to provide a religious class for those who opt out. And I understand all the policy arguments on it, but I also believe very strongly in religious freedom. So I don't actually have an issue with that case. I get where it comes from. I think that there are some policy issues that could cascade out of that, but I think if we're going to honor the First Amendment, we have to do that. So I actually don't have an issue with that decision. However, as it relates to the birthright citizenship, I have a big issue with that one because this court decides to be textualist and follow exactly what it says when it wants, and then it allows the president to have unprecedented expansion of executive power. But here's the long and short of it. I lost a case today in Houston. I lost a case where morally I could not be more right. But I lost it because my client lives in Texas in the Fifth Circuit. If she lived in Pennsylvania, she would have been able to bring the claim that I brought. I specifically asked the court to extend to her the same ability to bring the claim that she would have if she lived in a different state that she does not have because she lives here in Texas. The reason I tell you that is this. That is the real crux of this case and the crux of this whole issue. We live in a country that is super federalized. We know what's happening. I'm talking to you. You're in D.C., I'm in Texas, Michael's in Michigan, and the brother Eugene is in Baltimore. That is not something that existed in terms of technological ability when this country was founded. I tell you that to say we have a legal fiction that we continue to perpetuate in terms of, states' rights and in terms of you have a different, basket of rights living in one place as opposed to somewhere else. Nationwide injunctions are kind of an outcropping of that. The idea that a judge one place could stop the executive across the board is what the Supreme Court bought on. But the reason that's stupid is because the people who are affected by that same policy in Maryland or in Michigan or in Texas, a judge should be able to make a competent ruling that affects all of those people because the harm to those people is universal. So the legal fiction that exists here is the idea that, what we all know to be true, that a judge who's listening to it, who makes a decision when there's all these people who are similarly situated does not apply because it didn't apply in, 18th century England is bogus. But that's the legal fiction that we deal with. That's the legal fiction I deal with every day. And I don't know how we resolve that until we as a country are honest about the fact that we live in a country where everything is, simultaneously viewed. We see what happens across the country, across the world in real time. So it no longer really exists to say that what happens to a person in Pennsylvania should be governed by different rights and different rules than what happens to a person in Texas. And I think that's the fundamental tension that we're seeing here. And I don't know how that will be resolved until our Constitution has an amendment or until we start to have a more expansive interpretation of the Constitution and the laws as they apply.
Eugene, very simple. They don't want that to happen. They want how issues are being decided in the Fifth Circuit to be the case for the entire nation. That's what they want. Eugene, if you don't fix that damn mute button, I'm gonna whoop your ass.
I'm a serial muter.
You are worse than Nola with that damn mute button. Come on, man.
Hey, nothing on the homie. But the thing is this, right? That's the thing, but I think also they don't understand the can of worms that Andy's talking about, right? Okay, if injunctions aren't going to be nationwide, are they going to be just specific to the state or to the district that the judge resides in? Now you're going to have civil suits, class actions all over the place. And then on top of that, the next time you have a Democrat president and whatnot,
actually, hold on, Eugene, I'm going to stop you there. For some reason, your audio is actually distorted, so y'all work with Eugene on that. Michael, if we're going to sit here and talk about the birthright citizenship, that means Barron Trump's got to go because he's an anchor baby.
Yeah, when the same rules apply to them, they never wanted to apply to them. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with now. Let's take a step back. This is all straight out of Project 2025. This is what we were warning people about. Roland, you and I and others here on the show, this is what we're warning people about because this all deals with the fear of the browning of America. This deals with the fear that by the year 2043, white people will no longer be the majority population in this country. The 2020 census scared a lot of these white Republicans when the percentage population of white people in this country dropped below 60% for the first time since 1790 when the first census was taken. It dropped to 57%. consent. Then you have Donald Trump saying the 14th Amendment was for the babies of slaves. Yes, it was the brainchild of Representative Thaddeus Stevens out of Pennsylvania, one of the radical Republicans. Yes, it built upon the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And yes, it was primarily Section 1, primarily for former slaves, but it was for former slaves, not just babies of slaves. I don't know what this fool is talking about. And then this also was came about 1868. It was ratified July 9th, 1868, when Louisiana and South Carolina ratified the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. One of the reasons why it came about was because of the Dred Scott decision, March 6, 1857, as your guest just talked about, where Chief Justice Taney, who wrote the majority decision, said that Negroes had no rights, that white people were bound to respect. He said they were not citizens, but also, just so people understand, the U.S. Supreme Court in that case also ruled that the Missouri Compromise of 1820 was unconstitutional because it robbed slave owners of their Fifth Amendment right to due process, and that nullified Dred Scott, whose real name was Sam Blow. It nullified part of his argument because he was taken into Illinois, which was a free state, and he went into Wisconsin, which was a territory. And the reason why Wisconsin was free territory was because of the Missouri Compromise of 1820. So this gets into a lot of law, gets into a lot of history, gets into the U.S. Constitution. But this is what we warned people was going to happen. Okay, we're seeing it unfold now, so we have to continue to fight. Lawsuits are being filed right now. Maryland and New Hampshire have announced they're filing class action lawsuits, as reported by the New York Times, against this. So this fight continues.
Hopefully is everything straight with Eugene? We got Eugene back. Eugene, can you hear me?
Oh, wait, hold on.
All right, there we go. All right, we seem to be better. There we go. All right, then. Now you can make your points.
I was just going to say that, they should be prepared for everything that comes with class action lawsuits across the country, flying all over this country. And then on top of that, when you end up with President Harris in 2028, going into 2029, Republicans have been probably the bigger abusers of nationwide injustice than Democrats. We saw with everything done with Obamacare, DACA, the student loan forgiveness, you name Democrat priority here. Come next go around, they won't have that tool in their toolbox, and class action lawsuits move much more slower than the actual civil injunction does. But good luck, Republicans.
Well, what I would hope happens here is that this wakes folk the hell up and realize that when you sit elections out, when you complain about things, but then you don't vote and you don't maximize your vote, then you see what happens. And so, people need to realize that this thing is real. We warned folks about this, and now they're seeing the real effects of right-wing rule in America. And of course, Trump was speaking at the then. You had Attorney General Pam Bondi, who I guess she forgets she's the Attorney General for the United States. She really acts like she's the legal counsel.
Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that, 94 districts. And 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a bipartisan problem that has lasted 5 presidential terms, 5 different presidents, and it has ended today.
I literally cannot stand the sound of her voice.
Me either.
Cannot stand it. But here's the thing, Matt, that I think is important. They're going to do what the hell they want to do. The previous attorney general was sorry as hell. And I'm going to keep saying this and saying it again. When you get power, you exercise it.
Well, first, let me give you good news that you may not know. I was trying to find the exact numbers, but Pam Bondi's brother ran for president of the D.C. Bar.
Oh, got his ass dusted.
Demolished. I mean, just demolished. I don't even remember the percentage, but I think it was sub 10%. So there's one benefit, at least the D.C. lawyers were like, nah, we're not the ones. But yeah, I mean, you're right. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing. I think the Supreme Court is taking the tack that allows it to get where it wants to go. This whole thing about the imperial, all this stuff is obviously histrionics. But the thing about this court or this president is you want to talk about bipartisan. From all of those presidents from the 5 administrations before, what was bipartisan is the Justice Department had a separation from the White House so that you didn't become the White House's in-house law firm. The White House has its own counsel. Pam Bondi is not supposed to be essentially his outside counsel. That's how DOJ is operating. And, whether you want to debate the merits of the nationwide injunctions, it goes back to the federalism issue I was talking about before. If you read the syllabus to this opinion, all they talk about is how nationwide injunctions in courts of equity were something that don't have an analog in 18th century England. But the reason I think that is stupid is because we're at the point where we don't live in 18th century England. The law has to change, and it necessarily has to evolve with time. And what I see the Republicans do in this conservative court is they hearken back to this crazy, Scalia-type textualism every time they want to get to the point that they want to get to, which is giving Donald Trump what he wants. They're just finding a vehicle to get to that destination. And that, I think, is intellectually dishonest, but I also think it's dishonest with what we are as a country. We are no longer a country of 50 little states, 50 little fiefdoms. No matter how much we try to convince ourselves of that, we live in a country that is a globalized nation now. And the legal fiction that we're going to keep acting as though that isn't reality is just not going to get us anywhere. And it's going to continue to divest us of rights, particularly when you live in a Texas or a South Carolina or somewhere that does not want you to have rights, when the people in power are just continuing to give rights to people who look like them and divest them from others. So, I mean, we have to get to the point where we're honest intellectually about the country we live in.
And again, here's the reality. The folk who actually give a damn, they're going to have to go hard at the ballot box. And it's as simple as that, Eugene. They got to go hard. I mean, you're dealing with people who want to, I keep telling people, they want to lock in power for the next 100 years. This ain't no cute little exercise. This is real power.
Listen, Hillary tried to tell you. Kamala tried to tell you. You had a Secretary of State trying to tell you. You had the Vice President trying to tell you. And now, for the second time around, people are realizing they both were right, and they're feeling the effects of it. We saw what Jefferson Beauregard did in 2017 when Trump took power and in the first term. We're now seeing what Pam Bondi's going to do for Trump as Trump took power in the second term. And the thing is this, the midterms are still a year and a half away, which gives them a very long time to do a whole lot of damage. While people are out protesting Vice President Harris's rallies, and you had folks up in Dearborn and some other places, they were going to protest vote. And everybody's sitting back worried, but what is Sleepy Joe doing? What is Sleepy Joe doing? Well, Sleepy Joe made sure he confirmed as many judges as possible at both the appellate and district court level, because of situations that we all saw coming just like this. That's why we're seeing the institution itself being attacked. Pam Bondi just today filed a lawsuit against the entire Maryland federal judiciary because they don't like the rulings coming out of Maryland. I believe we're one of those 5 districts that she's pointing out and whatnot. But the thing is this: people have to vote like their lives depend on it because their lives literally depend.
Absolutely. Michael, about 30 seconds before I go to break.
Well, seeing that display from Pam Bondi today is an absolute disgrace. And when you study the history of the U.S. Department of Justice, it was created in 1870 largely to enforce the new rights of black people, like voting rights. Okay, so when you look at what they're doing today, this is what you get, and she's acting like Donald Trump's defense attorney as opposed to being the people's attorney. That's what the attorney general is supposed to be, the people's attorney.
Yeah, but she serves one person. All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. How is it you have a political assassination in Minnesota, and for mainstream media, they just sort of forget it actually happened? Well, today, former President Joe Biden paid respects to the former House Speaker of Minnesota. I'll show you some of that when we come back. I'm Roland Martin, Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to join via Cash App, you can use the Stripe QR code. This is it right here. And, of course, if you're listening, just go to blackstarnetwork.com, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to get the code for that. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
If we don't stand up for Medicaid now, in spite of my honorable military service, the Senate will kill my child.
I want the people that are trying to take this away from us to put yourself in our seats.
Congress people, you got free health care paid for by the people, and then you don't want the people to have the same thing you have. That is sick, and we must challenge it.
This bill will deny millions of people the health care that they need. This is policy violence.
And we won't be silent anymore.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, the wealth gap has literally not changed in over 50 years, according to the Federal Reserve. On the next Get Wealthy, I'm excited to chat with Jim Castleberry, CEO of Known Holdings. They have created a platform, an ecosystem to bring resources to Blacks and people of color so they can scale their business.
Even though we've had several examples of African Americans and other people of color being able to be successful, we still aren't seeing the mass level of us being lifted up.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Marissa Mitchell, a news anchor at Fox 5 DC. Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Trump wants Congress to skip their holiday recess to pass his big, beautiful bill. But guess what? It's getting slammed left and right. Even if you look at a Fox News poll, a significant number of Americans do not want, nor do they support the big, beautiful bill because they know how they're going to be impacted. These folks literally are trying to cut additional SNAP benefits in order to do the $3.8 trillion tax cuts. They want to stay like, yo, we got to hook up the billionaires, the millionaires. In fact, this was a Fox News poll. They dropped this poll, right here, folks, taken June 13th through the 16th. Their own poll shows 59% of Americans oppose the big, beautiful bill compared to 38%. You've got folks like Senator Tom Tillis, North Carolina Republican, who's sitting here going, yeah, my state's going to lose a lot of money if this bill passes. But here's the other thing that I think Democrats should be doing more of, and that is exposing who the right is trying to hook up. This is what Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett laid out on the House floor when she said, y'all, follow the money.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have repeatedly told people when asked about the rationale for actions of this administration to follow the money. Yesterday in the House Budget Committee, we heard alarming testimony from expert witness Robert Gordon. He reminded of those motives in the Republicans' reconciliation bill when he explained the lucrative opportunities for powerful private contractors to profit off of the red tape in the bill created in Medicaid. Republicans' beautiful bill for billionaires requires increased work check-ins for people to retain that Medicaid. For employment data, states are likely to use the work number from Equifax, which costs over $20 per person per search. Under the bill, more than 18 million people would have to be checked every month. That equates to $360 million per month, and that is $4.32 billion per year, or roughly $43 billion over the bill's 10-year budget. Going to the vendors who make money, who are going to be processing this, follow the money.
Now, this follows Republicans wanting to get rid of and just gut the e-filing system. Guess who that helps? People like H&R Block and other tax preparation companies. You got Republicans saying, I don't know of any Americans who asked for this. Oh, you don't know if any Americans ask, hey, can there be a filing system from the IRS that I don't have to pay for that makes it easier to file my taxes? This is a joke. Eugene, what they are doing is they are simply throwing billions of dollars at other people. They don't care about the taxpayer. And I'm telling you right now, this is where I said it. If I'm Congressman Jeffries, if I'm Ken Martin, I got me a David Letterman top 10. I'm calling it the most egregious thing of the day or whatever. They got to keep hammering this thing, and even going to. I said this about having joint hearings, but going to red states and saying, hey, y'all about to get jacked and you don't even know it.
Look, this is what Republicans do to Democrats all the time, right? The Green New Deal has never actually passed as the Green New Deal. But every Republican voter, high IQ, low IQ, can tell you what a Green New Deal is. And in essence, they were, demonizing people that would essentially receive, benefits for greening, our energy economy. The same thing when, during Obamacare time, when the death panels were all the rage, right? Which actually ended up turning out to be not true at all. Democrats have to do everything possible to expose who would be the benefactors and end users of the dollars that are going to be passed along through the big, beautiful bill. Whether it be, the taxpayers, whether it be, hey, the accountants adding more lines to the tax code, whether it be people like Eric Prince, who are set to make billions of dollars off of immigration enforcement, already begging Trump, hey, let us open up our own CSOT. You got to go all the way to Honduras or Venezuela somewhere. We can do it for you. And states kind of did the same thing. You see, also on the flip side, right? There's a reason why Elon was lashing out after the bill came out because, hey, they're paying for this bill by taking away the tax credits and subsidies that make Tesla profitable. So these are all opportunities for Democrats to exploit to continue to chop away support of this bill, and while at the same time showing how it directly hurts and affects them. When you tell me that, hey, my federal government's about to spend trillions of dollars, and while they're doing that, Western North Carolina that got ravaged by natural disasters is not getting a dime or not getting what they need to rebuild, that's something that will flip multiple House seats in North Carolina in the next election if done properly.
Well, indeed, indeed. And we often are showing Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett breaking these things down on various committee hearings. And so we usually, of course, are showing you those 5-minute breakdowns for the Crockett Chronicles. But we got the Crockett Chronicles live. So roll it. All right, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is in the house. Glad to have you. What's happening? Look, you always go somewhere. I don't even know what city you in on a given day. I got tracked you on Instagram. So where you at now?
I'm still in the city until the morning.
Gotcha. All right, you still in the wildlands of D.C. All right, we were just talking about, again, how it's so important to walk people through what's really in this bill and how they're going to get screwed. We showed a video yesterday or a couple of days ago, you doing that as well. And that has to be the constant strategy of Democrats. Hammer, hammer, hammer. And even go on Fox News to do it. Their own poll is showing this bill ain't popular.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that, when we do communication, we have to figure out who is best suited to do what. We've seen some very effective communicators from our party go on to Fox News. And if you are effective when it comes to that very hostile and non-truth environment, then I think it absolutely is a good place to put those voices, especially right now. Listen, there are those that want to make it seem like it's partisan, or they want to make it seem as if this is anti-Trump, when really this is pro-American and this is pro-democracy to push back. And I think the more that we can couch this in the terms of hurting the people and hurting all people, urban as well as rural, Black, white, brown, yellow, I think the better we will be. But so long as people believe that this is just us going against Trump, I think that we'll fail.
Absolutely. And look, you even have Republicans who are praising how Mamdani ran his race by saying he kept focusing on cost, affordability, access. That's the stuff that was resonating with people across the board. And I think by doing that, by saying, hey, this bill gets passed, your cost's going to go up. You're going to be, the rich gets more, you're going to get less, and they are taking things away from you that Americans, especially a lot of broke red states, need.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm glad that you brought up the race in New York, because it's been quite disgusting, the things that have resulted from his win. Listen, I don't really care who you supported. I mean, half of these people didn't even participate as it relates to this mayoral. But the idea that it's okay to go out and do all types of hateful things just because this is someone who's Muslim, I think that we all have to stand together and denounce that. I mean, we have freedom of religion in this country, and so many have decided that they would attack him or his religion simply because they don't want to talk about his substance, the things that you're talking about, the things that actually potentially won him the election, talking about affordability. They want to continue to distract with their hate and their inflammatory rhetoric. And I think that we all have to tell them that no, not on our watch, and focus on us. Stop focusing on all these nonsensical attacks that have nothing to do with whether or not the person is qualified to do the job. Ultimately, I think that if he is going to win the general election, it will be because he continues to focus on the people. Anybody that decides that they want to focus on things such as his religion or the fact that he's not necessarily born here, then I think that those people are going to lose. I just think that the average American is tired of the nonsense and wants people that are looking out for them and whether or not they are going to survive Trump 2.0. And right now, a lot of people are finding out that Trump 2.0 is not 2.0 because it's an upgrade, but instead it's a downgrade.
Well, this is also why, again, where you go, how you communicate, all those things are important. Listen, there are some people in the Democratic Party, in the U.S. House, they don't like your style. They don't like your tone. They said the exact same thing about Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The same thing about Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, Katie, escaping me right now.
Porter.
Katie Porter. We can go. I mean, same thing. And here's the reality. What people, and I get this wherever I go. People are looking for someone who's a fighter. And there are people even on the right who say, hey, I may not agree with your policies, but hey, you're out there fighting, and this is not a time to play it safe, to do the usual Washington, D.C., oh no, my gentle colleague, all that nonsense. They ain't trying to hear that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, one reason that Fox News is obsessed with me, even though I'm never on there, but I'm always on there, is because they are trying to telegraph to their own followers because I actually break through even to Republicans. And I think that that is what's so scary for them. It's not whether or not Democrats like me, it's whether or not Republicans like me. And frankly, anybody that is fighting and is just laying it out. You know, I am known for really bringing the receipts. I'm known for making sure that I back up what I say with the facts. It kind of ends up being kind of irrefutable. And that's what people are looking for right now. I just read a quote from one of the candidates in the mayoral in New York, and he said, right now, the fight in the Democratic Party isn't about, you know, progressive versus conservative Democrats. It's actually the fighters versus those that will fold. And I think that that's absolutely right. I think that the fight isn't necessarily specifically over the policies so much as it is over who it is that people believe are actually fighting for them.
Talked about Fox going after you. Trump really can't stand you. He can't stand that. And he placed a call to the governor of Texas saying, can't you change those congressional lines to get rid of that black woman? That ain't what he said, but that's pretty much what he said. They want to change the congressional lines to get rid of your district, which is going to be a little hard to get around Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, because you are kicking his behind, which says that means you're getting under Donald Trump's skin.
Yeah, this is one of the most alarming things that hasn't really been put out into the atmosphere is that Donald Trump knows that he's deeply unpopular, but he doesn't care. And so he remembers what happened in his first term when he only had the House during that first half of his term. So instead of allowing the people to rise up like the people most likely are planning to do so that the Democrats can take over the House, he's decided that he wants to go after multiple seats in the House as it relates to Texas. The first two phone calls that I got from the House, this is while they were still in session, and this was before any reporting had come out, was that he wanted to come after myself and Al Green. Ultimately, once reporting started to come out, it said that he wanted to try to squeeze out an additional 5 seats. We only have 13 Democratic seats in the state of Texas right now to 25 Republican seats, which is completely skewed and gerrymandered as it is. And so, yeah, this is his little project to hopefully hold on to the House, the same like he did in North Carolina. And he's also planning to go after Ohio as well and targeting 2 women there in the state of Ohio. So people need to wake up and understand that, like, ultimately, if we don't have the numbers, It's not because we're not out here working. It's not because we're not trying to win. But when the system is rigged against you, there's only so much that you can do. So it'll be interesting to see what some of our blue state governors decide to do, whether or not they decide to push back and say, hey, two can play this game. If you want to sit up here and try to play with those Democrats that are in red states, then we can play with the Republicans that are in blue states. So we'll see ultimately how this kind of shakes out. But he's already called a special session in the middle of July, I believe around like July 15th. And we will find out whether or not he's going to put redistricting on the call.
We talk about, again, gifts from, or I call it manna from heaven, the gifts being given. Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell gave Democrats, I think, a really great gift when he was asked the question about Medicaid cuts in his home state. This is literally what the senior senator from Kentucky, the man who was the Senate Majority Leader, said, they'll get over it.
Yeah. That's
a hell of a thing for somebody to say who has guaranteed health care for life and has a platinum health care plan that's far different than a lot of those broke conservative people in Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to wonder. I mean, they're saying the quiet part out loud nowadays, right? Like, for a long time, their policies have harmed those that they are supposed to serve. But they have gotten to the point that they are down with saying, listen, I'm here to be your gravedigger. I am not here to serve you. I am not here to represent you. I am not here to do what is going to be best for you and your family. Instead, I'm going to just go ahead and help to put you 6 feet deep. And ultimately, listen, if you're down with that, if you believe that like making that sacrifice is what you should do in this country, then so be it. I look at service a little differently. And so I'm going to keep pushing the real truth out there about how harmful it is and explain that I am against this because I know that the people that elected me from Texas 30 and sent me to DC, that they are against it because that's someone's mother. That's someone's grandmother, uncle, father, sister, brother, child. And so I think that it is completely contradictory to this idea that this is the party that is of Christian values. No, you're not. This is the party that is pro-life. No, you're not. Listen, when it comes to being a Christian, it's not what you say, it's what you do. It is through the actions that we interpret whether or not someone is actually Christian. And I don't know what is least Christian about these folks, whether it is trying to act like, you know, women should not have access to the healthcare that they need, or if it's literally just ripping away healthcare at all or for all people in the name of helping out those that truly do not need a leg up.
To that particular point, Nicholas Kristof had this story here, his column in the New York Times. He talked about how all the food subsidies being cut by the United States. He said a child dies of malnutrition every 15 seconds as 185,535 boxes of special food for starving children are stacked in a warehouse in Rhode Island, paid for by American taxpayers. After shutting USAID, the Trump administration is just sitting on the boxes. And I have said before numerous times, these people are not pro-life. They are anti-abortion, but they as sure as hell are not pro-life, and they are not lovers of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, I mean, most people did not understand, and I think that a lot of people still don't understand how the vast majority of our aid works, whether we're talking about USAID or whether we're talking about aid that we send over, say, military aid or anything like that. We usually don't go dropping bags of money, right? What we do is we contract with those that are here in our country, and we spend that money with people here so they're able to make money. We're then able to tax that money, right? So we're technically getting some of that money back, and then we are then sending that overseas. So whether we're talking about defense contracts, because when we do things, we don't just say, oh yeah, you can have certain weapons. Like, we send those weapons from the United States and we send them over. We don't give people access to our secrets. and things like that. Same thing with the food. What happened is most people didn't understand is that we were buying food from local farmers, and that's where the money was going. And then they would send the food overseas. But unfortunately, the farmers lost out as well as the people that were supposed to be on the receiving end. Essentially, all we did was commit this great waste in the age of let's get rid of waste and fraud and abuse. I think everything about the way that this administration has operated has not only been wasteful, but fraudulent and abusive. And I hope that the American people are waking up. We heard testimonies of various farmers that decided to go out there publicly and talk about the harm that was being done. As someone who served on the Ag Committee, I can tell you that I've been on my fair share of farms. And this idea that we continue to keep people divided, we should not. If the farmer is surviving in rural America, then that very well means that we are surviving no matter if we're in urban, rural, or suburban America, because we're able to eat. We should want our farmers to survive, and our farmers should want us to make sure that we're making the investments in things such as SNAP benefits, because that means that that grocery store is going to buy food from them. That means that the people that are going to the grocery store are going to be able to buy the food. The issue is that we have allowed ourselves to be divided at every step of the way instead of understanding that we need each other to survive.
Last question. You saw at the House Oversight Committee ranking member seat. Democrats chose Congressman Robert Garcia. I opened this talking about your constant travel, doing all kind of stuff, traveling the country, raising money, being away from home, all those sort of different things. And then you got folks on Capitol Hill, people in your own party saying, oh, she's not a team player, which is sort of weird if you are going on behalf, speaking in people's districts. They're asking you to come in. They're asking you to donate. You raise a lot of money. You donate it to others. So it had to be upsetting to hear people say you're not a team player. What focus now? Because obviously people still want you, media folks always calling you left and right, but that's a hell of a thing to say when your track record says, I've helped a lot of people out with money, time, and energy.
Yeah, I want people to know that, when you're in politics in general, everything is a competition, number one. And number two, somebody's got to lose. Clearly there was only one spot. And so I do want to clear the air on this idea that, this is about a win or loss. For me, it's more so just some of the things that were said that were really disheartening in this race, right? And the only thing that I really wanted my colleagues to do is to make an assessment of who could be effective in this moment. And ultimately, if the caucus would have been person X is most effective in this moment, then that's one thing, right? It was just kind of some of the other stuff that was being said that was really, really disheartening for me. But at the end of the day, I am still the vice ranking member on oversight. I am still someone who sits on that committee. And so I am going to do what I need to do on oversight. I'm going to do what I need to do on judiciary. And it's just clear that, leadership specifically, because I decided not to push it to the full caucus because of the message that elected and appointed leadership decided to send by the number of votes that, I was given, even though I had more commitments than that going into the leadership meeting. So I said, okay, it's cool. Y'all sent a message that y'all aren't really open to working with me. And so I read the message loud and clear. And so for me, though, I think about the fact that there's a lot of time that I have missed in the state of Texas in general. And so I'm not going anywhere, but I am going to move a little differently. I think that working with people like my pastor, Pastor Freddie Haynes, or working with Pastor Jamal Bryant, or working with Bishop Jackson, or there's so many others. I think that I'm going to dig into what I'm doing specifically with my advocacy and partnering up with those that are in the Black faith community, making sure that they have access to the information that they need. I think that I'm also going to dig in at the state level, instead of kind of spreading myself thin, not getting enough rest because I'm constantly on flights. I've got well over 2 million miles because I have kind of been going and going. So, we've got these statewide elections that are going to take place in Texas. And so I think that those candidates can use me across the state of Texas to hopefully get us to some kind of wins. So I'm going to dig in more locally as well as kind of the Black faith community. That's probably where I'm going to expend a lot of my resources and my energy.
All right, then. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, we appreciate it. Long week. Get some rest.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks a bunch. Folks, going to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin, Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
We don't stand up for Medicaid now. In spite of my honorable military service, the Senate will kill my child.
I want the people that are trying to take this away from us to put yourself in our seats.
Congress people, you got free health care paid for by the people, and then you don't want the people to have the same thing you have. That is sick, and we must challenge it.
This bill will deny millions of people the health care that they need. This is policy violence.
And we won't be silent anymore.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, a very different take on Juneteenth with the one and only Dr. Sunyata Ahmed. We'll explore the amazing foods, remedies, and rituals that are a part of our history and the Juneteenth holiday.
So it's our responsibility to return the healthier version to our folks instead of just the red liqueurs marketed to us, the red sodas and the other things. I mean, why does the Kool-Aid man have to sound like Louis Armstrong? He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, right. An enlightening and tasty hour of the Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the Original T Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Let's go to our panel, Michael, Matt, and Eugene. Listen, I talked yesterday that okay, for the House Oversight Committee, they chose Congressman Robert Garcia. I didn't know who he is. Again, I look at stuff every single day. Didn't stand out to me. They claimed he's really solid. Okay, gotcha, great, whatever. But for the life of me, I don't understand why, if you are a Democrat, if you are Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries, if you are DNC Chair Ken Martin, if you're any of them, I want my best people on the field. I want my best communicators. And if I've got somebody who's raising a hell of a lot more money than other people, who is selling out dinners, that speaks louder than how somebody is moving on Capitol Hill. You put your best players on the field, not on the bench. I'll start with you, Michael.
Yeah, I think so. Representative Jasmine Crockett is highly intelligent, highly effective. I follow her on YouTube as well as Instagram. I think it was Thursday night. She dropped a 37-minute video to update people on what's going on with the big ass ugly bill, how it's going to hurt people in urban America as well as in rural America when it comes to Medicaid, and about 16 million people losing health insurance. So she is a rising star in the Democratic Party. That's somebody you want up front. And first and foremost, she is a real fighter. She is a real fighter. And I watched her 5-minute segments that she posts when she is challenging these Republicans and people that they have testifying in different committees in the House of Representatives. So, yeah, that's somebody that you want out front. And she can attract a lot of youth as well. Okay, that's another factor here. And so, yeah, I think, and this is not taking anything away from Representative Garcia, but yeah, you want somebody like her out front in a leadership position.
Absolutely. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michael said a lot of it. I think she's incredible in terms of how she stands up and fights. And frankly, from just an optics standpoint, I don't understand how you don't have somebody who communicates as effectively as she does and who fights as voraciously as she does when you have the marketer in chief, when he's trying to pass Trump accounts, when everything is alliteration, even the big, beautiful bill. Everything's about sound bites. Everything's about rhetoric. She's very good at incisively picking apart ideas, but she's also very good at packaging those ideas in a memorable way. The Democrats have to realize that they're fighting fire with policy is not going to get you down the road if you have the wrong communicators of that policy. It needs to be fire and policy. And when you're not picking people who are able to bring that energy and keep that energy, then you're not able to get that messaging across. And that's what I think is so strange about this. I don't understand why the Democrats haven't figured out a way to put these rural Republicans, people from Texas, in a bind when you look at these big tax cuts that are going to affect people's lives in a measurable way. It seems they would have figured out a coherent policy to attack those Republicans who are going to have the same reaction, just like Chuck Grassley did in the video you played, months ago, where people are just literally there screaming till they're red in the face because they're not getting what they bargained for with this Trump presidency. It seems like the Democrats should be lashing onto that and leveraging that a little better. And I don't know why they haven't figured out how to do that just yet. But I think that also necessitates that those Republicans grow a spine and be willing to stand up against the president. And we know that they're not doing that. So I'm not sure how they reconcile that, but it seems to me part of that is through consistent, strong messaging.
Eugene?
I'll put my consultant hat on for a second here, right? Elections come down to three things: money, media, and manpower. Jasmine Crockett is one of the highest fundraisers, not just in the Democrat caucus, but in Congress, right? And when you're bringing on a crop of new candidates, getting a crop of getting your bench together, you need somebody like her that can help people raise money, right? Give the cosign, right? Give the cosign to the small, large donors. Say, hey, this person has my mark of seal of approval, and open up your wallets to them. Media, Fox News is obsessed with her. CNN's obsessed with her. We have our, we black owned, so we're gonna cover it regardless. But at the end of the day, the ability to garner media when you have 30 odd members of Congress fighting for the same airtime is valuable. Manpower. She's able to mobilize people across the country. And particularly, I understand, her wanting to move around and move differently, but I think also she should keep in mind that Black women across the country are looking at her for leadership. And, the ability to mobilize people is a special, special one. And look, she's in that rarefied air of people that could actually be a difference maker and a lot of toss-up elections, especially with particular constituencies. So I do think that, House leadership, I don't know what Hakeem Jeffries is thinking on some of these things, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what Ken Martin is thinking of some of these things. But if on both of them, I'm trying to figure out the best way possible to use her effectively. Between 2012 and 2015, when you had your Rand Pauls, your Marco Rubios, your Ted Cruzes, your Scott Walkers, Jim Jordan made his name, Daryl Issa was making her, like, Ranks had all these dudes deployed out across the country and made sure, hey, one of y'all going to emerge our presidential candidate, but right now all y'all hot. So, and there's 3,000 counties, 50 state parties, multiple district parties. We got 500 or so candidates running at the federal level. I need y'all out here raising money. I need y'all out here mobilizing voters. I need y'all out here dominating the airwaves. That's what both the DNC, the DCCC, and Democrat leadership on the Hill needs to be doing with her. Like, you have somebody special. They kind of fumble with AOC. Don't fumble again with Jasmine Crockett.
Well, so let me address the moving around thing. This is how I read that. The way I read that, Matt, is all y'all folk who I've given money to and I've traveled to your areas speaking at your Democratic dinners, where were y'all at when I needed your vote? See, this real simple. You don't keep putting yourself out there for folk who ain't got your back. And so, remember, this is the second time she's tried to run for a particular position. Before it was on the communications committee, the leadership, in terms of for the caucus. They went with Debbie Dingell out of Michigan. Okay, got it. Now you got this here. If I'm her, that's exactly how I'm saying. I'm like, all right, y'all don't sit here want to roll with me. Y'all hating on me. Talking about I'm not a team player. Sitting here all this like behind my back. So you know what? I ain't gonna sit here and keep giving y'all money, spending time, speaking at your dinners and all this sort of stuff. I'm gonna go do some stuff that I wanna do in some other areas that I care about, because it's clear that if you ain't got my back, well, I ain't gonna keep showing up for you. If I'm with her 100%.
I mean, yeah, everybody's been in that group project where they have to do all the work. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. And yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I will say, I ask, what do we need from her right now? And I understand the idea of like, I'm gonna move around because you're not showing me love when I'm doing all of this work for you. But I also realize that we need someone to stand strong right now against, an assault on basically every aspect of our lives. And she's doing that. And maybe I think that there's a fair question about whether that moving around, so to speak, needs to come later once things are settled. But also, this is going to be 4 years of a current onslaught from this administration. And, maybe that will energize other people to come out. Although it seems that Democrats are just not finding their footing in terms of messaging or anything in terms of stopping that onslaught. So I don't want to put all that on her shoulders either, because I think, sometimes they try to play that both ways. You're not a team player, but when we're getting outsized performance from you and you decide to step back to let other people step up and they don't, then you're not a team player.
But see, I don't necessarily think I don't believe she's saying I'm going to step back so y'all can step up. I think it's, I'm not about to keep killing myself doing all this stuff if you ain't, listen, the phrase, if I scratch your back, you scratch mine. At the end of the day, if you doing stuff for folk and then they ain't doing nothing for you, it's like a one-way street. So why do I need to keep doing stuff for y'all? I get it. I totally understand it. And again, Michael, I just think it is beyond dumb. I think it is beyond dumb that if you are Democratic leadership, you are not fully embracing of Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, and others, because I showed the video. We played the video yesterday. A sub-congressman, oh my God, y'all pull that video up. He was sitting here, he got two other people behind him, and he talking about the bill, the whatever the hell bill. And I'm sitting here going, ain't nobody listening to this man. Ain't nobody listening to him. I'm understanding messaging. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Like, I don't even know who this dude is, but ain't nobody responding to this.
Yeah.
Play it.
We are here with an urgent message. Republicans right now are attempting to jam through a bill that would present the largest loss of health care and food assistance in American history. And why? All to pay for tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires. Now, just a few weeks ago, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office confirmed that if their bill becomes law, it will be 16 million Americans who will lose their health care. This bill includes the largest Medicaid cuts in American history, large cuts to the Affordable Care Act, and even more than $500 billion worth of cuts to Medicare. Unfortunately, as bad as that is, it's not all. It also includes hundreds of billions of dollars in cuts to nutrition assistance programs. You can see why we like to call what Trump has labeled the big, beautiful bill actually what it really is, the big Republican betrayal of working Americans. Now, I talked about the tax cuts, and one of my colleagues behind me will talk a little bit more about that. But when you take all of this bill and wrap up its component parts into this one bill, what you find is this. For every American household that makes under $55,000 a year, they will be poorer as a result of this bill. So it's quite clear. Under this Republican betrayal, the poor get poorer, the rich get richer, and the middle class falling further behind. This is wrong. It's not just bad economics, it is deeply immoral.
I know I'm hot, guys. I got it. He put me to sleep. I'm sorry. Were any of y'all engaged for those 90 seconds?
No, and I'm pretty sure
No.
you know,
Like-
that video probably went nowhere.
So nobody, well, I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's the big Republican something working people. Oh my God.
So, you know,
oh my
well,
God.
I know you're gonna play the. I know you're gonna play the video when you call my name. I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is something. I'm glad you played it though. This is something I was thinking about earlier today. I consume a lot more media and news than the average person, and a lot of these African American politicians I follow on social media as well. From my analysis, a lot of the black politicians fight harder than the white ones do. Okay, what we just saw, first of all, he looks like he wants to run for president, number one. Number two, it's boring. It's not going to engage people. It's not going to get them to stop. If that was scrolling on social media, TikTok or Instagram, it's not going to get people to stop.
But not only that, did you hear anything specific? Like, you got to illustrate. I was just like.
That's my next point, because, you know, you need to have some illustrations, some poster boards behind you, breaking down bullet points, things like this.
But hold on, but how he looked like one of those FBI Department of Justice news conferences. Where the attorney general was standing there, and you got the U.S. attorney over here and the investigator. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to announce that we have filed federal charges again. Y'all, this thing is, oh my God.
Right. He looks like he wants to run for president. And the other thing is...
What, student council president?
No, president of the United States.
No, that ain't even president of the United States.
But the other thing is, they listen to these white political consultants. Okay, these white political consultants who never won, most of them never won an election themselves where they were the candidate. They listen to them on how to present themselves to the public. That's why that stuff is not working. That's why Jasmine Crockett, Ayanna Pressley, Nikema Williams, that's why LaMonica McGyver, that's why they're so effective and they resonate with a lot of people, especially African Americans.
I just, Eugene, I'm sorry. That's just, I'm again, if I'm trying to sit here and talk to people about how this bill is so awful, I want to send out my fire breathers. I want to send out my folk who gonna flame their asses. That's what I want to do.
I agree. The thing is this, right? I go back to the 2015 presidential cycle. The reason we know Ted Cruz's name and the reason we know Jim Jordan's name is because they were fire breathers. They were lighting them up. You know, the right went crazy about AOC, not because she, you know, popped off a Democrat powerhouse, but because she was able to go out there and light people up, staying with Ayanna Pressley and now with Jasmine Crockett. If I'm Democrats right now, I am looking to build up that next wave of Jasmine Crockett. And I'm, you know, probably more than likely if I'm the NCTR, which I'm not. But if I was, I would be doing everything possible to empower her to be able to go grab that next wave and that next wave. Because going to look 2026 and 2028, you're going to need everybody. This is a 3,000 plus county battle that's being fought. They just announced, Dan Bacon's not going to run for re-election. That's a prime pickup seat, right? And guess what? You're probably going to want a Jasmine Crockett to go in there and help some startup, young Democrat that's going to run on that seat raise some money. But if you're getting people like her to the sidelines and not keeping them on the field, you already set yourself up for losses.
Absolutely, absolutely. They just crazy. They just crazy, and that's just who they are. So it's a trip. All right, y'all. Gotta go to a quick break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
If we don't stand up for Medicaid now, in spite of my honorable military service, the Senate will kill my child.
I want the people that are trying to take this away from us to put yourself in our seats.
Congress people, you got free health care paid for by the people, and then you don't want the people to have the same thing you have. That is sick, and we must challenge it.
This bill will deny millions of people the health care that they need. This is policy violence.
And we won't be silent anymore.
Hey, this is Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. That boy, he always unfiltered, though. I ain't never known him to be filtered. Is there another way to experience Roland Martin than to be unfiltered? Of course he's unfiltered. Would you expect anything less? Watch what happens next.
The other day I had crazy conservative Shelley Winter out of Atlanta on the show talking about, of course, why all of these black Trumpers, these little MAGA folk, it's amazing how they real quiet on black stuff. I'm going to get to them in a second. But Bishop William Barber is with us. And matter of fact, Bishop, I'm going to ask you this here, Bishop. There's this John Amanchukwu, a Nigerian immigrant. I think he's actually in Wake, North Carolina or something like that. He's the one who's aligned with Trump. He wears his little 47 hat on Instagram and YouTube and all this stuff. He's joining with Trump on banning books. He's all about talking about LGBTQ stuff. But it's amazing how folk like him, when Trump was trashing African nations, this African immigrant don't say nothing. When they have an anti-black agenda, this African, go on, show his face. Just show his face, this little Amanchukwu. They ain't got nothing to say. So it's amazing when they love talking, they show up at Black History Month receptions, Bishop Barber. But when we look at how the policies are going to negatively impact black people, these so-called pastors like John Amanchukwu, it's amazing how quiet they are.
That problem with that, and I'm sorry my voice is a little bad tonight, Roland. I've got a broncho thing. But the problem with it is that's their theology. The only thing they're looking at is getting paid. They become chaplains of Trump, if you will. They are not prophets. They don't speak against injustice, and they really don't care about the least of these. And the people, many times sitting in their own pews, they are content with a few accolades for a minute and whatever airtime they can get. And it's actually, it's, to be quite honest, it's damnable, it's sinful. And that's why we have to counter it. That's why we have to have shows like what you're doing. That's why I was listening a minute ago and just listening to what you were saying, even about the Democrats. What I think they need to do is do like SNCC used to do. SNCC, before you could go out and speak, they put you in a room and you had to go through, a battery test, and you had to be pushed and you had to be trained, because this is no time to have weakness in the public square. Literally, Roland. I was thinking about you. I was talking about the other day. With DEI, they are attacking, DEI. With this bill, we will DIE, die. This is a killer bill. It's not just a piece of legislation. You can't talk about it calmly. And you're talking about 51,000 people dying in the first year with this budget bill, and every year for 10 years. That's 500,000 people that will die from the impact of this bill, in addition to the 250,000 people who are already dying from poverty every year in this country. There's no way in the world we can listen to these, as you say, these pastors who won't say a word about what's really happening to our communities. And there's no way we can be calm about this stuff, man. This is the time. If you ever been loud and strong and accurate, it's the time to stand up now.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why. Look, you're having this Moral Mondays event on Monday, 11 a.m. And when I called out National Baptist Convention USA leaders in Kojic and the missionary folk for taking the $300,000 from Target, I asked the question: okay, are y'all gonna be at the march on Monday? Where are y'all on these issues? And I say the same thing to this ignorant MAGA pastor, a Nigerian immigrant out of North Carolina. It's like, oh, you call yourself pro-life, but you ain't got nothing to say about the massive cuts to U.S. aid, and people across the world are dying. Children are dying because of starvation. They say nothing. They say nothing about how the Politico had a story the other day, how the Senate Republicans are trying to do more cuts to the SNAP program to pay for $3.8 trillion tax cuts. These folks ain't pro-life.
No, there's nothing pro-life about it. In fact, Roland, this is the largest transfer of wealth from poor people than was transferred from the slave to the slave master. This bill, on the one hand, they want to add 10,000 more ICE agents with masks on their face. And the only way they're going to do that is they want to cut millions of children off of free lunch and millions of people off of SNAP. And basically what they're trying to do with this bill is undermine the Affordable Care Act. And ultimately they want to get rid of things like Medicare. And we have to remember, Medicaid, Medicare, those are victories that came out of the Civil Rights Movement. Those are our victories. Those are victories that came out of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And death is, that's why I refuse to call it the big, beautiful bill. Nobody should be using that language if you're against it. Don't repeat what they're saying. This is the big, deadly, destructive bill. And that's why, Roland, on Monday, we've been doing Moral Monday. When we first went, about 120 folks showed up. They arrested 3 of us. The next time, 10 times more people came. These folk even arrested a girl with cerebral palsy in her wheelchair holding her Bible. This is what you're dealing with. And so more people are coming back this Monday, and we're bringing caskets. We're bringing 51 caskets to outline how many people are going to die in the first year. We're going to bring the information on how bad this is for each state, because that's the other thing Democrats ought to be doing. They ought to have impacted people every time they're talking about it, and they ought to be telling people, you're talking about 400,000 people in North Carolina. You're talking about 200,000 people in South Carolina. This is no time to be talking in generalities and platitudes. This is a battle. And when you add this bill and its deadliness to what the Supreme Court did today and how they are going after the 14th Amendment, Roland, people need to understand in black churches, if you're not talking about this stuff, what in the hell are you really preaching about? Because you're talking about the 14th Amendment. If you ultimately undermine that, you are undermining the amendment that allowed for the rebirth of America itself. Everything we hold true, everything we want, women's rights, civil rights, labor rights, all of them are rooted in the 14th Amendment. Now, they didn't end it today, but they did something that is so bad, and that is that if a judge finds that somebody's done something illegal, and they can't stop it until we find out if it's unconstitutional, the only way you can stop it now is you've got to get plaintiffs in every state to file a class action. If we don't watch this stuff and start raising the temperature and the fire, I heard somebody say black folk need to be sitting out now. What do you mean sitting out? Do you know how many black people need Medicaid? Do you know how many black people will die if they don't have Medicaid, if they don't have Medicare. I mean, this is not a time for us to sit down. This is a time for us to analyze every piece of public policy and ask the question, how is this going to impact Black people in this country, and make sure that our voices are heard loud and strong and continually and consistently.
Again, was taking place on Monday is crucial. And I showed this video right here to your point. Here were people in wheelchairs, and they had ties on them, arrested them because they were protesting Medicaid cuts. And they arrested y'all for praying in the Capitol Rotunda, but when a right-wing evangelical came in there singing, oh, they came out and it was like a worship service in there.
Exactly, and that's the contradiction, and that's why they really are mad, because we didn't choose prayer because we think we're weak. Prayer means we see this as holy work. We're not going anywhere, but here we are praying against what they're doing and getting arrested and put in paddy wagons. I mean, I'm not talking about catch and release. They are literally arresting us, putting us in paddy wagons. They bent me up in it. But I'm not worried about the arrest, because we're trying to arrest the attention of the nation. But on the other hand, they had a press service the same day we did the first Small Monday, and they didn't say a thing about the things that God really cares about. And that's how you treat the least of these. But brothers and sisters I need you to come out. We need people that will pray, people that will submit. And Roland, they have told us this. They said this time they have the orders that if we come and more than 30 people pray in the plaza, they're going to arrest them. Now I want you to hear that.
So wait, hold on. So if you stand outside of the U.S. Capitol, you can get arrested?
Yes, sir. We have been told.
And it's called praying.
And it's called praying.
And not y'all ain't coming out with bear spray, and pepper spray, and twisty ties, and attack. They are arresting folk for praying.
Right. It's against what they're doing in Congress. What we were told was that if 30 people stand in that plaza, 30 now, if 30 stand in that plaza, and it doesn't matter if they're in robes, it doesn't matter if they are in wheelchairs, if 30 of them stand there and pray, they will consider that illegal, emoting, illegal protest, and will arrest them. That's what they're saying. And so we're going. Nobody's going, because we're trying to arrest the attention of this nation. I've been with every movement. I have about DEI. I'm going to stay with those movements. But I'm also challenging people. We better pay attention to these policies that are being passed, because this particular bill, Roland, they're passing this for 10 years. 10, not 5, 10 years. And if they do this, you won't be able to undo it for 10 years. You could undo it, but it'll take so much effort. The level of destruction that they're talking about. And you want to really know how evil this is. We just came out of COVID, Roland, and 300,000 of the 1 million people that died during COVID did not die because of COVID. They died because of the lack of access to health care.
Stunning. And again, this so-called preacher out of North Carolina, John Amanchukwu, silent on the attacks on the poor, silent on Medicaid, on what we're trying to do. Hell, he's silent on Trump not even sending hurricane relief to his own state of North Carolina. But he would rather sit there and get his little invite to the White House, wear his little cute little 47 hat, and be happy that Trump has assigned him to lead the effort to ban books, because he wants to call things perversion, and he wants to attack saying, oh, they got all this sexual stuff in these very books. But this Nigerian immigrant who claims to be a preacher, silent on attacks on Africans, silent on children around the world dying because of U.S. AIDS cuts, silent on the attacks of the poor, silent on all of that, but they claim they love Jesus.
That's right. And well, the fruit is known by the tree is known by the fruit it bear. And while and he's worried about who's gonna sleep with who in a book, and not worrying about the way that all of us are getting screwed, if you will, in this bill and in these policies that Trump is passing. And it's not just him. Joel Osteen, let's call it out. All of them, the big megas, Creflo, Joel Osteen, what's her name? Joyce.
Joyce Myers.
Joyce Myers, the guy down in Texas, the big church. None of them are saying a word about the things that Jesus said was the fundamental way you judge a nation, and that's how it treats the least of these. But what's even more damnable is if we who know better, and I'm saying black church, if all these conventions we're having this summer, if you're having a convention or you're having a preaching gathering and you're not talking about this, and I'm not just talking about mentioning it in a sermon for 1 second and get an amen. If you got thousands of people gathering and you're not informing them of what's going on and how what's going on is directly opposed to Jesus saying, the Spirit of the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor and healing to the brokenhearted. If you're not dealing with this, then it is a form of theological malpractice to have all these gatherings and not be dealing with what's happening to the people that are sitting right in your pews.
All right, Bishop William Barber will be there with you on Monday. More Mondays, folks, beginning at 11 a.m. They'll be gathering at the Lutheran Church. Show the graphic, please. Come on, show the full screen graphic. That's going to be taking place, again, on Monday. Then there'll be 11 a.m. They will march to the Supreme Court for a news conference there where impacted people will be speaking. That's important because we get tired of these rallies where you got politicians running their mouths, but folk who are impacted by these policies will be speaking. And then we'll be covering all of that live right here on the Black Star Network. Bishop, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
And we're going back to that rotunda and we're going in that plaza.
All right. And
whatever they do it, but we're not going to stand down.
And our cameras will be right there with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. I want to go back to my panel here. See, this is the thing that trips me out. That's why I had to call out this little trifling pastor, Eugene, so-called pastor, because I saw his little comments. He was attacking Pastor Jamal Bryant on Twitter for the Target boycott, and so he was running his little mouth. And so then when I responded on Twitter, then the little fool he gonna have more to say about me. And I'm sitting here like, dude, you can try to sit here and call me names all you want to. You could try to sit here and question my manhood. First of all, I don't give a damn about you. I mean, when I say I don't give one damn about you. But here's what I do know. I do know you kiss more Trump ass than Melania. What I do know is that when we look at the impact of policies on people who are hurt, your simple Simon ass don't say nothing. You quiet. You call yourself a... See, I love it how he wants to preach and speak against what he calls perversion of homosexuality and LGBTQ. But he ain't got nothing to say about attacks on the poor. He ain't got nothing to say about policies that are leaving folk starving. He ain't got nothing to say about his own state trying to recover from the hurricane, and Trump said, nah, y'all ain't getting more relief because they elected a Democratic governor. It's amazing how all that other stuff in the Bible, he ain't got nothing to say. But then he want to run his little mouth and try to call somebody sass. Man, you a joke. You a joke. That's what you are. You an absolute joke. And all you care about are your nice little cute invites to the White House. And that's why I call Negroes like you the help.
Listen, and they come in all shapes and sizes, right? At this point, we're over a decade in and dealing with these black MAGA folk that are just like him. They've accomplished nothing. They've done nothing. They've done nothing for the community. But they have everything to say. I'm dealing with somebody on the other side of it. I got what I consider to be a lesbian predator incel that's like literally harassing me on both Clubhouse and Twitter. That is also, guess what, done nothing for the community, has no accomplishments, has no achievements, nothing actual tangible outside of harassing people that are actually doing things. But when it comes to the real issues, when it comes to real impact, they are nowhere to be found. They have no input. They have no actual action that they can put behind things and show, hey, this is what I tangibly did, and this is what I tangibly produced. And so, Reverend Barber, he's picked up the poor people's movement mantle, and he's the conscience of the nation at this point. And folk like this Nigerian pastor that we're not even going to give airtime to his name, should sit down, shut up. I've been telling people, a lot of people at this point, just shut the fuck up, get out the way, and let those that will do, let those that will accomplish, let those that will achieve, let those that want to provide tangible results do it.
I bet his jollof rice is trash.
Probably.
Probably is. Let me. So again, and we know he ain't gonna say that. Y'all, there were a couple of African presidents, Congolese. What's up, Matt?
I don't know. It's just funny. I mean, you're just attacking the man jollof rice. It's hilarious. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because more than likely, he hanging around MAGA. He probably preferred meatloaf and unseasoned chicken and raisins and potato salad. That's probably what he's doing because he wants to assimilate. All right, and here's a perfect example. Trump today had a couple of African presidents in the Oval Office, and if y'all want to see stupidity, just sheer stupidity. Just roll this bush. Sir,
here we have Ariana, who is from the continent of Africa. She's been a reporter here in the United States for many years, and she has a story to share with the press, with the media, and with these two fantastic leaders who have joined you today. So, Ariana, please.
Why don't you come up here and talk so they can see?
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
It's a great honor.
Thank President Tshisekedi. That you have no idea, he's very thankful for what you're doing, for what your administration is doing. Not only him, the entire Congolese people, they see that finally they will have hope. And President Tshisekedi also mentioned at the end of my interview that when peace finally comes to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, he's thinking to nominate you as a Nobel Prize Peace because he said you deserve, you have been working to bring peace in the world, not only at the Congo, and he's very hopeful to meet you in the future.
That's so nice, boy, and that's so beautifully stated. And Caroline said, number one, she did say, and I shouldn't say this because it's politically incorrect, she said, she's beautiful, and you are beautiful. Okay? I'm not allowed to say that, that could be the end of my political career, but I said it anyway. But you are beautiful, and you're beautiful inside. So I wish I had more reporters like you. So you covered Africa for a long time?
Yes, for over 10 years.
Wow.
I cover even your first administration.
Yes, I know that. That's great. Well, thank you. That's so nice that you said that. Appreciate it.
And I have one more question,
yes.
Mr. President. Since we know in July or in the future, both President of Rwanda and the Congo will be coming
yes.
to the United States. In Africa, President João Lourenço, the president of Angola, he is also the leader of African Union.
Good.
He
yes,
worked very hard to bring peace, but unfortunately...
Let's get him here.
Yes, that's
okay.
right.
Would you invite him for me?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
No, we'll have. I know that he works very hard, and he's the head of essentially the union.
Yes.
So the union all over Africa, not the kind of union that we have. This is the union all over Africa, and I'd love to have him. So you'll let him know.
Of course,
okay?
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good. Now you go back to where you belong,
sure.
right? That's great. That's a great job. It's real knowledge and real heart too. Congratulations. Okay.
Now, first of all, these are the foreign ministers of both countries, but he's over the union, over all of he don't even know what the hell an African Union is. Y'all, he ain't got no clue what that is. But here's the real deal, okay? I'm about to show y'all, this is really what that's all about. Okay, what Trump was all about, that wasn't about no peace. It was about African minerals. Watch.
Exactly.
That part.
Cobalt, tantalum.
So I'm a little out of my league in that one because I didn't know too much about it. I knew one thing: they were going at it for many years and with machetes. It is one of the worst wars that anyone's ever seen. And I just happened to have somebody that was able to get it settled. I mean, just a brilliant person who is very comfortable in that part of the world. It's a very dangerous part of the world. I said, are you uncomfortable there? People are being killed. School children are being raided and killed. And I don't even want to say how, but as viciously as I've ever heard. Are you uncomfortable? No, that's the part of the world that I know. Very comfortable. Was able to get them together and sell it. And not only that, we're getting for the United States a lot of the mineral rights from the Congo as part of it. They're so honored to be here. They never thought they'd be coming to. Look, this is a very tough part of the world. They never thought, they were just telling me, they never thought they'd ever be coming to the White House, and they're so honored. And so.
So we couldn't end the war, Michael, because it was right. Let's be sure to snatch the minerals from the Congo.
Yeah, Roland, that's what this is about. So I saw some of this broadcasted live today, ABC News online on Facebook. I read the piece from the Associated Press. And so this is the height of hypocrisy. And this is the U.S. trying to outflank China when it comes to tapping into the mineral wealth in Africa. And according to the Associated Press, the mostly untapped minerals are estimated to be worth as much as $24 trillion by the U.S. Department of Commerce, their analysis. These are the minerals in the Congo. But notice, okay, if Donald Trump cares so much about African nations, and about 6 million have been killed in this conflict, okay, if he cares so much, why did he revoke the temporary protective status of Cameroonians? Why did he revoke the temporary protective status of Haitians? Okay, why did he allow Elon Musk to kill USAID, and only about $40 billion was spent a year on USAID? And it's estimated by the Boston University model that 300,000 people have died worldwide because of the cuts to USAID. Tens of thousands of them are in Africa. Donald Trump did not announce a refugee program today for the victims for those who have been displaced from the Congo or Rwanda because of the conflict. But what was announced today from the Trump administration is that 1,000 white South Afrikaners are going to come to the U.S. because they're looked at as refugees trying to escape a genocide in South Africa. But 95% of the people killed in South Africa are black South Africans.
First of all, a genocide that don't exist.
A genocide that doesn't exist. But he's not allowing black South Africans to come here.
No, because the operative word,
refugee program.
Because the operative word is black. And again, and what you have, Matt, you have these African immigrant preachers from North Carolina who don't say nothing as Trump just sit here and dismisses and disrespects African nations. But yeah, this whole thing, it was about the money.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them are grifters, and they're about their money and their own personal influence. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because I read an article in preparation of this today, and even MSNBC, the way they reported it, I mean, they talked about the piece and they just put a little codicil in there about all of the minerals that were coming from it. And it almost looked like they touted Western investment. And I really found it disgusting, because we know that the real reason they're going in is to raid those minerals. So, I mean, that's all it is. That's all it's about, is money. And these same people who purport to be, religious leaders, and they're just about the dollars in their pocket, I mean, are disgusting. But also, a lot of it's not surprising. White pastors stood in the pulpits and talked about slavery being ordained under God 150 years ago, right? Or 200 years ago. That's no different than what we see. I mean, the truth is, when people are living their true religious or their true moral values, you can differentiate those people from the people who find social capital in purporting to live those values. And that's what we're seeing. And frankly, in both black and white people who are leaning on the teachings of Christ, leaning on doctrinal, teachings, but are not doing the real things like being out and feeding the poor. And in our own state, Roland, Greg Abbott is, touting the legislature's decision, passing the bill to put the 10 Commandments up. But a couple of days later, he removes millions of dollars in SNAP benefits for Texas people who need it. I mean, I don't know how those two things can coexist, but the reality is nobody's calling them out about it. And if they do, it's not the majority voice. It's not the majority West Texas and Republicans who are saying these are not the values we purport to live. It's more about whiteness and about money. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, because they don't actually believe in those values. All right, folks, last story here. We lost a legendary figure. That's right. Vocalist Walter Scott, co-founder of the iconic group The Whispers, passed away at the age of 81. Walter was battling for the last 6 months. He was battling cancer, lost that battle with cancer. He and his brother founded The Whispers, and of course we know so many of their hit songs. We know so much about in terms of their singing, and the beat goes on. So many songs, 70s and 80s, you name it, man, they had it going. And so many people remember their music. When they talk about iconic band groups, they certainly talk about The Whispers. Of course, born in Texas, moving to Los Angeles where they grew up. They, of course, just did so many amazing things. And not only that, folks, he missed several performances, and many folks were concerned about that, about them. And last year, I went to, I was in St. Louis for a concert. And in fact, what's interesting is that I went to St. Louis. It was Frankie Beverly and Mays, the OJs, and The Whispers. And I wanted to see my good buddy, Eddie Levert. And I had never met The Whispers. We had them on the show. And again, had never met them. This is a photo that I took. Y'all can bring the music down, please. Thank you. This is a photo I took of them, the twins, after the show. It was great to see them. Of course, like I said, both of them huge fans of this show. We talked for a bit there after they finished their performance, and it was great to chat with them. And of course, they were on stage performing. This is some of that performance right here in St. Louis. And man, it's pretty sad that this concert was June 22nd last year, and we've now lost Walter and of course Frankie Beverly, who passed away last year as well. And in fact, the twins were on our show in 2020. Here's some of that interview.
When we had Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong before they noticed me, we said we got to get in on this and sing about what's happening in our country right now.
And so you put this together, and then of course you shot your socially distanced video.
Yeah, absolutely. Recorded it with mask on. How about that?
I mean, the thing is, we've had BB Winans on, we've had Terry Ellis, and a lot of artists, Trey Songz up the video. A lot of artists have really been moved to speak to these issues, and really, it's a throwback to when Marvin Gaye put out his album, when Curtis Mayfield, where you have a history of artists who use music to speak to social issues.
That's exactly right. We first did it in 1965 and the Watch Riots. We're from South Central Watch, California. Right after that, we were brought the song Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong, and we spoke about it then. But here we are 50 years later, and, they say history repeats itself. We see the same thing, and it angers us, because maybe this time, Roland, they'll get the idea of what we've been trying to say. But this is not, you and I know that this is not, this didn't just start yesterday. It's been here for a long time.
Go ahead, someone else, go ahead.
No, you're right. I mean, it has been here for a long time. And like Walter said, back in 65, we've had this, and this is nothing new. It's just now we have those beautiful things called cameras and, iPhones and Androids that are basically now in everybody's hands. And then what's happening now is people are getting to see it for what it really is. Before, when I was growing up and I get pulled over by a police officer, you didn't have the advantage of taping these kind of things or them seeing how they actually act when they're around you. But now today, you can pull out your camera. People will just stop on the street and pull out their camera just to make sure that everybody is being honest. And this is the end result of it.
Folks, we're going to restream that interview with the Whisperers. I'm gonna ask our let's see group right here. Let's see which one of y'all has any level of musical sophistication and taste. Won't be Matt.
I do, of course.
It's not gonna be Matt. Let's see.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Like we are.
I do.
Like
I remember the Whispers.
Like we know that Eugene. He probably ain't never.
Now look. This is Black Music Month, and Roland, I can deep dive and no crazy better like anybody else. Now, don't play me now.
Okay.
I might be the youngest on the channel.
Okay.
Don't play me.
Okay. Give me 2 Whisper songs.
I got Olivia and Rocksteady. I'm in and out.
Huh?
I said Olivia and Rocksteady.
That's it.
That's it.
You got anything? You got anything? You got a third? No. I do. First of all, that's why I set it up by hitting you with 2 first, knowing damn well your ass wasn't 3 deep. Knew that. Michael, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I remember the Whispers. I grew up listening to them. My parents were playing the Whispers in the house on the stereo. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I remember in the 80s when they came out with Rocksteady. And they came out with the other song, And the Beat Goes On. So I remember seeing those videos on Friday night video. So some of us were seeing the Whispers for the first time when they were, reintroduced. They introduced to another generation, I should say. But others, I grew up listening to Al Green, the Whispers, Teddy Pendergrass. I live in Motown. Grew up with the Motown sound. Listened to Sam Cooke and Lou Rawls. So, but at the same time,
Man, we talking about the Whispers.
I understand that, but I'm just saying.
I ain't asked for your whole musical palette. I ain't asked for your musical palette. We talking about the Whispers. I did not ask for your whole playlist. We talking about the Whispers. No. This is Black Music Month. We talking about the Whispers. Stay on subject, Michael. Michael, stay on subject. Michael, stay on subject. You ain't got to give us a historical walkthrough on music. It's the Whispers. All right, okay. You got anything to contribute to this match?
Absolutely.
Roland, I heard you was lost and turned out like Olivia. I mean, you feel me?
That it? You trying to
come on, man? I know the Whispers.
You trying to show us?
I know Confunction. I know. Earth, Wind, and Fire. My favorite group.
You trying to show us your Google skills?
No, come on, man. I know that song.
Okay, all right.
You know I play, Roland. Come on now.
You played what?
I played many instruments, several instruments.
What?
I play keys, I play guitar, I play trumpet, I play bass.
Really? We ain't seen seen no evidence of any of that. We ain't seen no.
I'm a brother of Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia. I'm a brother of a music fraternity.
Oh, let's go.
Truth.
I mean, you could have been. Yeah. You could have been packing the equipment and being in the fraternity.
Oh, here we go. All right.
I mean, we ain't seen no evidence of your musical ability. I'm just simply saying.
Hey, ask anybody who knows me. They'll tell you. It's all right.
We don't know nobody who know you.
Well, I guess that's true. I suppose that's true.
See, we can't ask nobody.
I suppose that's true.
Again, folks, condolences go out to the family of Walter Scott. Condolences go out to the Whispers again, one of our iconic groups. And it was great to have them on the show 5 years ago. It was great to finally meet them in person last year. I'm glad I made that trip again, it was the last time I saw Frankie Beverly, first time I've actually met them in person as well. So it was great to be there. All right, folks, that is it for us. Don't forget, so here's the deal. Monday, so let me thank Michael, let me thank Eugene, let me thank so-called musical genius Matt. We appreciate that. I need to see some evidence of these so-called musical skills. So appreciate that. Folks, don't forget, Monday, 11 a.m., we will be live right here on the Black Star Network covering Moral Mondays in D.C. from the Supreme Court and the U.S. Capitol. We will be there, multiple cameras there covering the whole scene. campaign. We look forward to that, so we want y'all to tune in as well. Folks, support the work that we do by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Hold up, before I do that, on Sunday, I am going to be in Detroit. I'm going to be in Detroit on a Sunday, accepting the William Monroe Trotter Award from the NAACP. Now, they have the largest NAACP Freedom Fund dinner in the country. Typically, more than 10,000 people attend that dinner on an annual basis, and so look forward to being there. Be signing some books as well right before. So again, going to be there. Reverend Wendell Anthony, he sent me a photo of some of the honorees there, all the different folks who are going to be honored there. We were going back and forth. It's a crazy busy week. I got to be back. I'm literally leaving first thing in the morning on Monday to get back here to cover the event taking place right here in D.C. But I will be there, Detroit. Look forward to being there. In fact, this is the first time I've actually been back to the dinner. It's funny, they're honoring Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright. The last time I was at the dinner was when he keynoted there in 2007. And so look forward to being there. All right, folks, that is it for us. If you want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. And of course, the goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. It's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You support this show and all the other shows on the network. This is the QR code for you want to give via Cash App. Use the Stripe app to do so. This is the QR code. If you're listening, go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com for the link. Check some money order. Send them to, first of all, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send them to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. You can also, of course, get our gear, Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. And so get our new merchandise, RolandMartin.creator-brain.com. If you bought gear you have not gotten it, be sure to hit us up so we can help you get that. Also, of course, shop the black-owned products that we have. You see them on our table right here. Of course, black-owned toilet paper. We've got barbecue sauce, other items. We got coffee, all that sort of stuff. And so we should have a tight shot of that, y'all. We should do that every day, a tight shot of our stuff. So, again, get the products. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Also, be sure to support Fanbase. Download the app. If you want to invest in Series A fundraising, go to startengine.com/Fanbase. Folks, that's it. See y'all on Sunday from Detroit, Monday from the nation's capital. Until then, have a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Holla! Oh, we always end the show, of course, with our donors. So we're going to run the donors, and then we're going to go to Truth Talks. Go.